welcome to the CEO AMA. Mike, thanks for putting in the first question. You want to verbalize it?
I don't believe he's on the call.
Oh, not on the call. He even said so. Katie, would you mind reading his?
No problem. Okay, Mike, how would I, as someone who's not the CEO and not a financial expert, know how to feel about the status and trajectory of our company? Put another way, what information should I look at that I would be likely to understand and that would paint an accurate and honest picture for me?
Cool. That's a great question. All GitLab team members have options. So they all, if you stay more than a year, you'll become shareholders in the company. So you should definitely look at that. This is not personal financial advice. And if Brian Robinson is on the call, I'd love for him to tell me and add to it. So I assume that Mike's asking about what should we value the company at and how does that change over time? So we had when we talk with investors, the typical way they value companies is our recurring revenue, so our ARR, times a multiple. And the multiple can be anything from, in current market, from 15x to 50x. That multiple is based on your growth rate, your net retention, and your margin. All of these are best in class for GitLab. Now, you should expect that over time, the growth rate and the net retention to start declining because of the law of large numbers. It's easier to grow really fast if you're smaller. So those will decline, but the speed with which they decline really matters. And I think for GitLab, they've not been declining as fast as you'd expect, which is really great news. That means that we're doing really well and that the market will give us a higher multiple. I hope that answers Mike's question. Anybody wants to ask a follow-up question? In that case, Pilar, corporate culture.
Good morning. Corporate culture is such a critical part of finding fulfillment at work. I was wondering, do we have a plan to help maintain the GitLab culture as the company evolves? And what are we doing to ensure that GitLab has the best corporate culture for its team members?
Cool. Thanks for that. I think to simplify, I think culture are two things, kind of the way you work together and your values. The way we work together, we've documented that. You heard me just before the recording started complimenting Katie for following the process on starting a live recording, because we want to start them in a way that they immediately start with the person speaking who's going to do the rest of the call. The much more important one are the values. And what we do is we reinforce them. And I'm very proud now we find 20 ways to reinforce them. There's some things that are like extremely important. Like if we have a promotion, we structure the promotion according to our values. I think that's a big signal to the company. We also have more trivial things like the Zoom background with icons representing our values, which you see behind me almost every call. The best recent development I've seen is a project that Darva has started, is to maybe remove some of our sub-values that are not adding values. We have our 6 core values, and some of them have now close to 20 sub-values, and not all of them are high signal. So we risk having kind of the number of sub-values drown out the sub-values that really are high signal. I see she's in the doc. Maybe she wants to talk about it. Darva?
Thanks, Sid. Yes, so we were thinking of approaching it from a process perspective first. So I created an MR. You can click on the link. It's in the document. And we're just going to talk about and agree to how we want to manage our MRs. Our sub-values. So we might want a process for adding a new sub-value or modifying one to expand the scope instead of adding one or removing them. So the first step is just defining the process. And then after that, there'll be future MRs on whether we're removing them or modifying them.
Thanks, Darva. I think that was a really good call out of you, that we need to do that. So thanks so much for initiating that project.
So I think I have the next one.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, just when I was CEO Shadow back when we could do it in person, I was impressed at the way that you had such wonderful work-life balance. So as much as you work hard and all day and half the night, you still manage to have fun. Just curious what you were doing for fun during the pandemic. And as we're all getting excited to get back out there, wondering if you have vacations planned.
Yeah, thanks. I want to clarify, I don't work half the night. I mostly shut off my phone at 6 p.m. I'm done with work then, and I go do other things. I think if you see me in meetings, you know that I try to be very efficient and get a lot done in a meeting. And I think that we should all strive for that, so that we have some time left over at the end of the day. We don't have to work weekends. I want to share a clip. We went rafting this weekend, which was super fun, and that was without Karen. I don't think she would have liked it, but it was with a group of friends. I'm going to share sound, optimize for video clip, and this is not me, but a clip of our friends getting stuck.
There they are, completely stuck, and here we are.
I'm filming this, and they are now getting unstuck, which was great. And I think the really great part of it was that we got to pilot our own things. Normally, when you go rafting, you're with a guide, and the guide has all the interesting work. But this was much better. And then the other thing has been Karen likes kind of creative or crafting projects. And I like Lego, but I don't have the patience to assemble it. So I've been gifting her Lego that she then assembles. It's very symbiotic. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share her latest project, which she completed a week ago. Oh, I'm going to try to share with sound, and it's a model of a big digger. And it has like, I don't know, 6 or 8 axes or something like that. Kan die ook rijden? Nice. So those are some things that come to mind. And I encourage everyone to take time off. For the people in the US, it's not this weekend, but next weekend is a long weekend. I'm taking Monday off. I'm going to travel somewhere a bit further. Encourage everyone who has the opportunity to do the same. Tim?
Yeah. So I've been told back in the day you used to do the final interview for any candidate coming to GitLab. And I was also told this morning that you made the offer to the candidate, or at least let them know that they were receiving an offer that during that interview. Which I thought was pretty phenomenal. What are some tips or tricks or questions that you asked to quickly figure out whether or not they'd be a good fit?
Yeah, I think I did all interviews up to 140 people. I was mostly the last interview. And you have to recognize that you're not just kind of buying, you're not just trying to like gauge, are they a good fit, but you're also selling. So if at the end of the interview, I was like, hey, this is a great person, I'd say, hey, we're going to proceed to the next step. And the next step, mostly I knew it was offer. So you're going to receive an offer. And then I asked whether they wanted to know like what I thought was good about the interview. And everyone, of course, says yes. And then you get to highlight some of the things. And it's like you reinforce like, hey, we paid attention and you're a good fit for this company because. So I don't have data, but I think that hopefully helped with the offer accept rate, which is still remarkably high at GitLab. I think some of the questions I like a lot that I use are, walk me through the companies you worked for in your career, starting at X, like 5 companies ago or something, and explain for every company why you joined that company and why you left that company. And it can be a single sentence. You don't have to talk about what work you did or what you achieved there. I want to understand what motivates you to kind of accept it when looking for a job or moving on from a job. Another one that is interesting is like, hey, if we call your manager at your last company for a reference, what do you think they would say about you? Helps the person kind of go to like a third person perspective. And then I try to talk about just actual work. Like if there's an example of like, okay, I know the people in our company who have that role are now working on X. I try to talk through an example of that.
Great, thanks.
Thanks. Reb?
Greetings and happy morning. Actually, in relating to the last question, I just had a quick thought. Do you miss interviewing people? But the question that I signed up on here was, what kind of camera did you use in the canoe or the kayak there? I'm curious about that too.
Yeah, I like interviewing people. I think at a certain point, if you interview every single person, it gets a bit much. But I think because I'm more experienced, I'm now a better interviewer. I'm more relaxed about it myself. I ask better questions. I listen better to the answers, and I hope it's a better experience for the person being interviewed too. And the camera was an iPhone 12 Pro Max thing, and I'm very glad that they're water resistant because everything was soaked, including the only pair of shoes I brought. So I bought flip-flops at the gas station on our way back.
Cool. Good morning, Sid. This is Dave Astor. Promise no questions about food or burgers or anything in California this time. I've met you in person. You're relatively tall.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that was. I remember that one. That was a tricky one.
Yeah, thank you for the recap on that. I've met you in person before. You're relatively tall, and I'm curious. Have you ever tried to or been successful in dunking a basketball?
I couldn't reach the basket for my life. I've been invited this weekend to play pickleball with other CEOs. I am not very good at that, I bet. I've never tried it. I think I'm just not very good at sports in general, but I like doing them, so I'll keep doing them. And the sport I've been getting into is road biking. Really, really slow. Like Hayden would bike circles around me, but and we got electric road bikes so that we don't have to pedal that hard. So, I like sports, but and then in the Netherlands, I'm not that tall. I see someone saying something about korfbal, which is interesting, which is a very regionalized sport in the Netherlands. Although it's practiced everywhere, it's much more popular in certain areas. And my old roommate from my university days was an avid korfballer.
All right, I think we're at the end of our public section of questions. I'm going to stop the live stream and we will restart as a private stream.